All right, let's open it up. So first thing I always do, I showed you guys in another video, is take the center punch here and just pop all these screws. Just helps loosen them up so you don't, and look at that one's already boogered up right there. So that's going to give us a challenge, but let's see. So I keep spare screws for those so I can replace them. Make sure when you're pushing down on this that you have a good surface here. You're pushing down something flat so you're not going to break anything. There's one. That one was tight, so I doubt this one's going to come out. But nope. Let me get something else for that. Look how screwed that is right there. Okay, someone's been on that thing. Either tried to get it out or stripped it, putting it back in. But I'm going to grab it with some pliers and get it out, and I'll just replace that. Okay. I got it. All right. That'll get a new screw. Don't put these crappy ones back in for the next guy to mess with, okay? Oh yeah. Green. Look at that jet. Alright, so we know we need a rebuild kit. Now you can get this whole plastic piece right here with everything. You just clean the floats up, reuse the floats, but you know, you get a new float needle, get new or clean the jets here if you can. This one's pretty gummed up. But we're going to soak the whole carburetor. So let's see how the diaphragm is, because this is something that goes bad as well. And these have to be good with no like really bad kinks in them. If they got a bad kink from the rubber being distorted or something, they won't operate right. There's a spring underneath here also, don't forget. Hold the cap. Yeah, it looks good. It looks like it's been replaced. I'll save some money right there because these can be expensive. Look at that needle. Yeah. Alright, so diaphragm looks good. We'll be able to reuse that, no problem. Remember, don't use carb cleaner on this. Only use WD-40. But I don't see any tears in it. It looks good. Alright, good deal. Happy about that. Alright, so the needle's nasty, but that can be cleaned up. Alright, so I'm going to order up a new kit for this. There's O-rings, so these carburetors here have O-rings inside of here, where this sits in tight. It's got O-rings down in here, where right in there. Right? So it's got an O-ring there and an O-ring there. And those O-rings, if I pull this thing out, will most likely fall apart. Because they're usually flattened. But they're in there pretty good. I'm gonna soak this thing before I try to pull out anymore so nothing breaks. But so you might as well just order them up. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and heat up the pine sol, get this thing soaking in there, get it all cleaned up, and then I'll just give it a good spray down. When the parts get here, we'll throw everything back together again. So I'll see you guys when the parts get in. All right, guys. I took it out of the cleaner and I sprayed it down with some carb cleaner, and when the pine sol loosens everything up, the carb cleaner does a really good job. I took the main jet out, just hit it with a little wire wheel. So I want to show you how this works, because this is different than a lot of other carburetors. The way that this is set up right here is that you can't just pull a pin. You can't just pull a pin out and pull your float needle out of here. This is all one attachment. And you can pull the needle out by spreading these apart. All right, but there's 2 O-rings that are down inside there that I think are worth taking out and checking and making sure they're good and replacing. But if you wanted to take, right now the float needle is stuck inside of the needle seat. So in order to get that out, you have to spread these apart. All right, and when you spread those apart, then you can see that piece right there kind of pops up out of there now. All right, see that? And but you see here that the floats are attached to that because they're attached to the needle. So the best thing to do is just take the whole thing out so you can get it. All right, so I have all this cleaned up in here, and you can see the needle, how it's all corroded and nasty in there. We have to get that out of there. In order to do that, with these now popped up, just maneuver it out to the side, and now your floats are out. And you can see this needle's in bad shape. So let's try to get it out of there. Here it comes. All right, so that's pretty bad in there, pretty bad here. So you can clean this up and hope that it works, but you know, if you're doing this, and this is a bike you're going to be using, you can order this whole setup right here, which is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to waste my time returning this bike to a customer with something that I'm hoping is going to work. So let's get it all cleaned up. But you know, if you're on a budget and it's your personal bike, you can take the chance. You know, clean this all up good. This is rubber right here. You want to make sure there's no ring worn into that. You can clean it all up and soak it some more in the pine sol and make it work. But I'm going to replace it because this will come with all new O-rings, new needles, seat, floats, everything, and you just push it back in there. There's also a couple O-rings in different places. The kit will come with all that stuff. So, you know, like I said, if you're doing it for somebody, don't forget you got a mixture in here. The mixture is going to have an O-ring in there too that's probably messed up. So just replace it all, get the kit. Under $100 for the entire kit with the float and everything. So to me, that's completely worth it. So let me, like I said, we'll get back to this thing when I get all the parts in. All right, so now that with that out of the way, it's easy to get to the pilot jet. Right, so we're going to shoot that with some carb clean. Make sure you can see light through it. Clean it up real good. Make sure the port that it goes into is nice and clean. And we'll move on to the next step. All right, that's all clean, put back in. Let's go to our mixture screw. So the mixture screw, you're going to tighten that in. It looks like someone already has been in there. But what we're going to do here is we're going to count the turns in before we take anything out, okay? So until it's gently seated. See that? That was a quarter turn out. That is not correct. All right, quarter turn out is not where that should be. That should usually be about 1.5, somewhere around there. If you're within a quarter turn, you need to start changing your pilot jet size. Most likely this was just jetted incorrectly, or somebody spun it in and didn't know what they were doing. So let's get this out of here. This is on the fuel side, so if you're cutting the fuel off that much, you would need a leaner pilot. I have a feeling it probably didn't idle right. All right, so inside of here we have a spring. Same as all the other mixture screws that are on the 4-stroke that are on. You can't just say 4-stroke. It's got to be a 4-stroke that's on the engine side, okay? There's our washer. So we got a spring, a washer, and there's an O-ring down in here. But be careful with this O-ring. Sometimes it likes to stick in there. And you don't want to damage it. So I usually try to just gently hook it in here. If it doesn't come out, be patient. Like what I'm going to do now, spray some carb cleaner in there, now loosen it up, and then try to get it out. Let me spray some carb and get it out of there. Alright, so I sprayed some carb cleaner in there. I was able to loosen it up. And there we go. So what you want to look at here is, you see this one is not round anymore. It's hard to see, but it's kind of flattened. So the carb kit's going to come with a new one. But remember, when you're putting these back in, it's real simple. Alright, you have spring first, washer. If you're going to be reusing the O-ring, pay attention to which way the O-ring is kind of flattened. Put the flat part up against that washer. Okay, and that's how that goes. And you can kind of see how damaged that O-ring is right there. But we got a new one coming. Make sure you clean this up right here, the tip really good. Clean inside of there, and then you set it until it lightly seats, and then back it out a turn and a half and start there. Alright guys, so after waiting 2 weeks for my parts, because of all these delays, because of the, I can't say it or else they'll demonetize my video, but it's July of 2020 if you want to look up what's going on, but it's all the shipments and stuff are getting delayed. So I finally got all my parts. So I ordered it from one place, and they took 2 weeks to tell me nothing until I got up with them, and they didn't even have the part, even though it showed online, so that it was in stock. So I want to give a shout out to Motohelp, because Motohelp here, they sell OEM parts here, and this is the replacement for the Mikuni float. All right, and this is the whole setup. And I don't know who these guys are. I found them online, ordered up, and they got the stuff to me right away. What they had in stock online is what I ordered, and it came. That's all I expect from a parts place. So anyway, Motohelp, if you're watching this, man, thank you. Good job. Let's move on. All right, so we got the carburetor cleaned up like I showed. We have the whole new float needle setup here. Now you see it comes with your needle, the float, everything. Everything's nice here. Look at this. This old one. All right. Remember I told you, let's not mess with this. Just go to the new one. So we're going to put the new one in. Before you go jamming this thing in, you have these O-rings. So let's make sure we got some Seal Glide or something on there. So I'm going to use a Seal Glide like I normally do with all these rubber O-rings and stuff. Just put a little bit on there. Over there. A little there. And that's just going to help it slide in. Alright, so then you're just going to take it and gently push it in. Okay, and we're in. And there's that. Now a couple other parts that I got, and I got these parts straight from OEM parts from Suzuki. I got a new bowl gasket, because this is one of those things where you try to save the old one, and you put it all back together again, and it starts leaking all over the place. And here's the old one. You could see it broke apart. It was pretty dried. So we got a new O-ring for the bowl. All right, and it's got little tabs that help it. OEM stuff is just so nice. Everything goes together like it's supposed to. Sits in place. It's got the little lock tabs, kind of hold it so it doesn't fall out when you put it back on. Nice, good, fat gasket right there. I also got a new O-ring for the mixture screw. And you remember the mixture screw was turned in, it was a quarter turn out. Alright, so here's our new mixture screw O-ring. So we're going to take the old one off. That one's dried hard. We'll put the new one on. Again, I'm just going to use a tiny bit of Seal Glide to keep it nice and rubbery and flexible. And also when you put it on here, it'll keep it on the needle. Alright, so there's that. Let's get this back into place. Don't tighten these all the way in super tight. You just want to turn it in until it gets snug. You'll never do it again if you break one off from there, believe me. I've got some carbs in where people tightened them in. They thought it was loose, tightened it in, and broke the needle off. And you can, if you look in the inside of the throat right here, the little pin, the tip of it is sticking through right there, and it will jam in there if you make it really tight. All right, so we're in just slightly snug. I'm going to turn this one out. 2 turns right there. That should be good. All right, so with the mixture screw in now, we're going to go ahead and put the bowl on. And I do the same thing with the Seal Glide, even though it's a brand new O-ring. It just helps it seal better, and it keeps everything nice and alive. Keeps the rubber in good shape. Drop that on there. Put our 2 bowl screws back in. Throw your screwdriver down. Now these screws, you just got to make them snug, you know. But I like to tighten those things on like crazy, and then us mechanics have a hard time getting them off, but you don't need to do all that. Alright, so now with the bowl back on, we're going to drop our slide and needle all back in. Make sure the needle drops into place. Sorry, make sure the needle drops into place there. And we're going to take our diaphragm and just make sure that that is sitting where it's supposed to be. Sometimes that will shrink up a little bit and give you some problems. So make sure that goes into place. See what it's doing there? You don't want to go jamming it all down, so I'm going to make sure that this is all the way in. And take some Seal Glide on there, help it slide into place. Let's see, that Seal Glide held it in place now, so we should be able to throw this right on, no problem. There you go. So you got to pay attention to that stuff, because if you just tighten that down and it's not in the right place, it's not going to work properly. It's not going to slide up and down right, and you'll have some throttle issues and lagging and stuff, and you'll be, you know, who knows what you're going to be doing, fighting jetting or something, trying to fix it when it's your slide that's going awry. So again, with these, you don't need to hulk them on there, just snug. Snug, and we have a rebuilt carburetor. Make sure that this is working good here. It should go up and down just fine. Alright guys, and that's how you rebuild a carburetor on a DR650. This bike should run fine with this on here, no problems. Everything's working good now. It's cleaned. We got our new parts in there. I don't anticipate any issues with this carburetor. Check out the video where I'm doing the restore of this bike. The bike's been sitting for 10 years. We're getting it running again. And thanks for coming over here and watching this carb rebuild. Until next time, guys, please hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell for all notifications. It's Tepco Cycle Repair.